What you want me to radiate my prostate? Go to hell. 1 in 8, yeah. Who knows what's right? Current treatment's garbage. Most men are left impotent. 1 in 8. Blue is the color.
Welcome to another episode of Customs Talking Cancer, where we're dedicated to education and early detection of cancer. I'm so very thankful today. Customs Kicking Cancer could not have been where we are without Brianne Mitchell was instrumental in getting us over the hump and set up as a charity organization with our social media, our webpage, really just tons of mentoring, legal help to keep us out of trouble. And Bree, we're really, really thankful. And we can't show the gratitude enough of what you did for us at such a strategic time that we just couldn't have been here without you. But the most amazing part is you did that for us while you were trying to be a phenomenal mother and a phenomenal wife and a business owner and an entrepreneur. And well, you had recently been diagnosed and trying to figure out how to live with cancer. And I just can't imagine being able to put all that into one day or one time, but you did. And we're really thankful, and the courage and the vulnerability that you're willing to step up here now and show is amazing. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I thought maybe we could start by just telling us a little bit about who you are and your journey pre-cancer, and we'll get to that. But who are you?
Well, thank you for having me. As I said, I'm really happy to be having this conversation with you, Dan. And who am I? Who am I? That was different last year than it is this year. So my name is Brianne Mitchell. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, and I am a cancer patient, which is sort of very strange to say. I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania. My husband and I decided to raise our family here because we love our community and build our lives within our community. Our children are 16 and 14, which is hard to believe.
Yes, it goes so fast.
It goes so fast, and as you know, I think parents oftentimes identify as being parents first.
Yes.
And out of all of the roles in their lives, or all of the hats they wear on a daily basis, so I went from being a mom to being a mom with cancer in a very short period of time, and that was a very strange and unusual transition for me personally.
And it's not only a personal journey, because your family, whether they want to or not, get brought right along with you, because they have to.
Correct.
So maybe we could transition a little bit and have a discussion of, because I think it's important for people to hear, and there's just not a lot of places to go to hear real live interactions like this, in the vulnerability and the fear in of that diagnosis and what that is like to be diagnosed, because I assume there was a story or a process to get to that.
I think so. I think that many people in my position, that of a relatively young Dan, right? We're not the youngest, but we're relatively young.
I feel young, not ready to have cancer.
Right, absolutely. So people in our position maybe aren't, as we talked about before the show, going to the doctor to say, can you please test me for cancer?
My dad hadn't been to a doctor until his late 50s, where he got diagnosed with cancer. He'd never been to a doctor before that.
Right. And so I feel like that's part of the conversation that I will come back to, but there should never, ever be a scenario where a young person, or any person in general, actually, at all, is diagnosed with a stage 3 or a stage 4 type of cancer, because there should always be testing. There should always be conversations happening prior to that stage 3 or stage 4 diagnosis. That should never be part of the equation. That should never be a conversation where a patient is walking in to speak with their doctor or their caregiver or their test result conversation, to have that bomb dropped on them to say, you have stage 4 cancer. That should never happen.
But that happened to you, right? Similar?
And it happened to your dad.
It did.
So I digress, but we will certainly get back to that. My story is not unique, but I feel like it happens for many people. As we said, you know, you're walking in for routine testing and you come out with a cancer diagnosis, which is very similar to what happened, and I can tell you that story. So in December of 2022, I was sick and I couldn't breathe, and I went to the emergency room, and I don't know if it was a complication from an upper respiratory situation, but December 2022, my lung collapsed, which was strange. So I had this partial collapse of a lung. They caught it on a CT. As an incidental finding, they found a small nodule on my left lobe of my thyroid, and they said, maybe you should get that checked out. So sure, the holidays happen, my birthday happened, I'm a busy mom. In July of 2023, I finally get around to calling an endocrinologist for an appointment because it just wasn't on the radar.
Right.
Wasn't experiencing symptoms. I didn't feel like I needed to see an endocrinologist.
You felt pretty good.
I was fine.
Yeah.
And the endocrinologist, or endocrinology professionals, I feel like in general is sort of hard to get appointments with. And so my appointment was October 2023, and we had a video visit, and the endocrinologist said, well, routinely, let's do an ultrasound and some blood work. And then it was a busy time of the year again, right? Fall into holidays.
You're right back into the holidays.
And
nobody wants to deal with this.
No. So I eventually schedule an ultrasound for January 17th, 2024. And they found what they thought were metastatic lesions and thyroid nodules, not on the left, but on the right side of the thyroid. So using that as sort of within the timeline, in 13 months, I didn't have any nodules on the right side. I only had one on the left, and then I grew these, what we will eventually come to find out were cancerous, mutated, highly aggressive tumors.
Wow.
And within a very short period of time.
Basically a year.
Yeah, within a short period of time. So I had to follow up with a biopsy, and then once the biopsy was complete, there was a cancer diagnosis, and within the cancer diagnosis, they sent the information or the biopsy out for genetic testing, and the genetic testing came back, which was had these genetic variants and this very high risk type of papillary thyroid cancer, and so we went from there, and that was the story.
But it's pretty, is it rare? The type of cancer you had was fairly rare?
Yes. So tall cell BRAF and TERT mutated papillary thyroid cancer is a rare diagnosis. Yes. It is very uncommon. It's more common to have a BRAF and TERT mutation within PTC, which is papillary thyroid cancer, but to have the tall cell variation is what makes it a little bit more high risk.
I can't imagine what that was like. And I think a lot of people that get that diagnosis go through that, thrusted into that situation. And thank you, I guess, for sharing and being an advocate for those people that hopefully don't have to be alone like you were and so many other people are. And once you had the diagnosis, and you got through that initial with your family of shock and fear, and I'm sure there's anger and a lot of adjectives that you can pick, but sooner or later you have to get to the point where you say, okay, this is real, and we have to make decisions, and we have to go on with life, and we have to decide what that fork in the road, and it's probably not even 8 different forks in the road.
Yes.
And you have to decide what you're going to do. And I have to imagine that's equally as terrifying and is equally as lonely and is equally confusing. So now that you've been diagnosed, help us understand a little bit, at least for you, what that journey of having cancer is, and now what? Where do you go, right? There's no book.
No, there's really not a playbook of what you do next, or how you address your family situation, or how you tell your grandma or your children.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
There really isn't a playbook, but I guess the positive part of all of this is that whenever you have a diagnosis like this or something similar to this, your entire world shifts, and everything that needs to be put into perspective changes. So you have a completely different lens, whereas I was so worried about work. I enjoy work. I like work.
Yeah.
I like to be busy.
Right.
You know, success is important to me. Well,
right.
It was. It really doesn't matter
It's a different perspective.
quite so much,
Right.
right?
Well, you view success probably differently today.
Completely different lens.
Right.
Right. So for me to have a successful day now is to make it through the day, to be able to visit with my kids and my husband after school or work or all of their activities, and to sit down and really spend quality time with the people that I love. That is successful, as opposed to, you know, securing a new client or reaching a milestone or something like that. So your lens completely changes, your lens of what the world looks like, and then you sort of shift from there. So your perspective of the world completely changes, and you're able to make decisions not so much based in success or business or fear, but you're really making decisions from a place of love. And that sort of makes things easier. So when you're making decisions from a place of love, for example, I owned a flower shop, which is what I wanted to do for my entire life. I loved it. I always wanted to own a flower shop, and I thought, I am 45 years old and I'm going to live out the rest of my life, living this dream of owning this flower shop.
Things.
Yes, making
that
beautiful
smell wonderful.
Yes, this pretty little flower shop, and the town you grew up in and what you care about. And you can look at it like cancer took that away from me, or you can look at it through a different lens and say, I was able to facilitate a business for the next owner, and I got to do what I loved for a period of time, and now I can focus on my health. And I still feel very passionately, about being able to do that, but there are a couple other things, right, that I need to do first, that I need to take care of, which is prioritizing my health, which I really hadn't done because I was prioritizing other things. So the lens shifts, the perspective shifts, and you find yourself in a place of, I think, uncharted territory, like mentally and emotionally, physically. What do you do next? So.
Well, and you're learning on the fly, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's.
Yes.
I assume there's lots of discussions with doctors or a doctor. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing I've found in this role of not have experiencing cancer, but surrounding myself in a network, in a group of cancer survivors and people that are battling cancers, everyone's story is different. Everybody's experience with their doctor is different. The feedback they get, even for the same cancer, from different doctors is different. And there's the consistency that you would think, well, you get diagnosed with a certain type of cancer, this is what you should do. What I'm learning is that's not the case. And I would assume that you had some sort of similar experience, that as you're talking to these doctors, this is not an exact science.
No. So the practice of medicine, as we talked about, the practice of medicine is very much practicing. You're practicing.
Well said.
So, but having these discussions with doctors is certainly important, but I would like to take it back and say having these discussions with your friends and family and your caregivers and those in your immediate circle are so important. So Customs Kicking Cancer, for me, is such an important organization because you're creating conversations, you're creating dialogue, you're starting the talks that no one wants to have, whether it's before a diagnosis or no. Yeah. So
it's not fun to have these talks.
Nobody wants to face their mortality or the idea of their mortality. We don't want to talk about that. No. We want to talk about where we're going for dinner.
That's right.
Or what's happening at the flower shop.
Next vacation.
Exactly.
Right.
So
I think it's really important. We only have a couple minutes left.
Already?
I know, it goes so fast.
Jeez.
Your treatment and what you've decided to do, I feel, is less usual. What are you doing? Are you going through the typical chemotherapy and radiation that you hear so much about?
No, I am not. And before we start the story, how much time do we have?
We have minutes.
Couple minutes. Okay. So I took a non-traditional route of health and wellness and nutrition, which I believe, whether you have a cancer diagnosis or not, of course, that should be important. That should be an important choice in a person's life.
Yeah.
But we don't always prioritize those things. So through the cancer lens, I was able to prioritize health, wellness, and nutrition a little bit more. I worked with several doctors, endocrinologists, surgeons, oncologists, and also naturopaths and chiropractors and holistic healers. And so I created my toolbox and it was what I felt was best for me and my family at the time. And so I didn't take the traditional route of RAI for thyroid cancer or even like a more traditional radiation.
Right.
I definitely took a more unique approach.
And I think it's really important, that's why I wanted to bring it up, that for people to realize that there are options. What's being presented to you is not the only option. And you have to be an advocate for yourself and follow your heart and what you and your family decide on, which is what you did. And that's important that people know that.
It is important. And so I will also say this to anyone, who's watching or listening. If there is a scenario where you feel uncomfortable or you need to talk about, please reach out to me. Please reach out to Customs Kicking Cancer, because we're happy to have those conversations with you, the conversations that you don't want to have or the conversations that you need to have but you're not sure how to approach. Or even in regard to health and wellness, I'm not a medical professional, but I am living this every single day.
Right.
And I'm happy to talk you through it, and I know Dan is as well.
Thank you so much, once again, for everything you did for Customs Kicking Cancer while you were going through this. Thank you so much for taking some time to come up here to share your story. It's so important that we get these stories out to people. We wish you the best. We're here for you every minute of every day. That's about it for the show today. We are going to be in Daytona Bike Week soon. We're leaving on February 25th to have the booth set up on February 28th. It'll be the debut of Bacante that we've been talking about, working on for almost 2 years. Please come see us, say hello. If you have a story, I'd love to sit down and get it taped and put it on our Instagram page. If you haven't had a prostate cancer test, we have them there as usual. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Do that. What you want me to radiate my prostate? Go to hell. 1 in 8, yeah. Who knows what's right? Current treatment's garbage. Most men are left impotent. 1 in 8. Blue is the color. Father, sons, husbands, the brothers, we love ya. 1 in 8. Blue is the color. Father, sons, husbands, the brothers, we love ya. Listen up, badass football star. Cancer's got you on the radar. TJ Watt, the pigskin taker. Be aware and wear blue, you playmaker. PGA and MLB, where's the blue? What will it take for us to count on you too? A damn foot race, 1 and 8 will be chased. Just you, all alone, locked in a cancer cage. Where's our month? We earned it, we fought. September is ours, or so we thought. A man dies every 15 minutes, it's crickets.